I wanted to go over a few of the common mistakes that we see in the grade books that need to be corrected when it comes time to submit them, and to show you how they can be corrected. So when it's time to submit grades at the end of the term, we want to review grades, make sure everything's correct, make sure everything's up to date, make sure all our attendance is submitted to the very end, last day of the term. So what we'll do with the grades is we'll come click on grades. We'll make sure we share a grade report. We'll review all the student grades, student information to make sure all the grades are correct. But then we'll see in this sidebar here, sometimes there'll be these kind of red text. There'll be this red text, notices, errors, telling us there's something wrong with the gradebook, we can't submit it. What's happening here is we have the grades set up on our student reporting system. So whatever's there needs to match with what's on SC Learning. So when we click submit, it's kind of a 1-for-1, and there's no mix-ups, there's no mistakes, and everything reports accurately on the students' records as we evaluate, process the grades and their schedules for the next term. So a lot of these things are very easy to fix. So one common thing we see is items not categorized. So we see here the following item in the course category, question mark, which means nothing needs to be categorized or deleted from the gradebook. If you're going to be correcting your gradebook, make sure you're doing it early, because sometimes deleting stuff can take up to 3 or 4 hours for, once the macros are updated and reran on the system. So if you're deleting stuff, do it as soon as possible. Don't wait till the grades are due to start deleting items. If you forgot to delete something and grades are due coming up, don't delete it, categorize it, and then give it a no grade value, so that way you don't have to wait that time for the macros, the system to update with that deletion. But here we see, if we go to the gradebook setup, we see here module and discussion whole forum. It's not in any of the categories. So what we want to do is recategorize this. So we've seen how to do that before. We can select it and then move it to a learning activity. Now it's there. If we come back to our grader report, we see that's no longer a error. Now if we go on to the next one, it shows that the category, something's hidden and it needs to be visible or deleted from the gradebook. Same rules apply to deleting something. In this case, if you're up against the time constraint, unhide it, give it a no value, so that you can clear this error and it doesn't affect the grade negatively. So here, module 2 discussion whole forum, it's hidden. So if we come back to our gradebook setup, you can see module 2 discussion whole forum. You see how it's grayed out and everything else is kind of a blue link. So that confirms that it's hidden. So there's 2 ways you can do this. One is in the activity itself. If you go to settings and come down to common module settings, you can see if it's hidden from students or if you show it on the course page. Another way to modify this is just here in the gradebook itself, edit and show. It'll update and you can see it. Similarly, if you are in the actual course itself and you have your edit mode on, you can hide and show activities by clicking on this little 3 dots next to it, and if you click hide, it'll be hidden. Click show, it'll show again. So if we do any of those changes and we come back to our grader report, we see that that is no longer an error as well. Another very common error that we see, or maybe not so common anymore, but another error that comes up is the category in the gradebook doesn't match with the category information on the student reporting system, Diamond B. So in this case, we have some suggestions of what might be wrong. One could be that the points don't match up. We look here at learning activities and we see it's 30%. We know from our syllabus that learning activities is actually 20%. So we need to change that. So in order to change the points, we're going to come to our gradebook setup again. And here at Learning Activities, we're going to click on Edit Settings, and change our category total to 20. We click Save Changes, recalculate, we go back to our grader report. We see that, there's still an issue here. So category learning activities with 20%. Well, that's exactly what it is here. And so again, this is where we see that category information has to match with the information that's here. So here we have assignments 40%, which is good with assignments 40%, final projects 40%, final projects 40%. We have our learning activities with 20 and 20. So what might be going on? So maybe there's a blank space category might be hidden, maybe it's empty. The names are sensitive to, are key sensitive. So there could be a few different things. So if this was a lowercase L and a lowercase a, it doesn't match exactly with this. So you would get this notice. What we're gonna see is wrong here is we notice there's a little gap there in between the S and the apostrophe or the closing parenthesis. And so that little space is not here. And so this is what's causing this to not match up. So for whatever reason you're getting this and you can't figure out what the problem is, what you can do is copy this and make sure you only highlight from letter to letter. Make sure it doesn't start there. Make sure it doesn't go past there, just from the L to the S. Copy. And we go back to our gradebook setup, your learning activities. So we do see here that there's an extra space. So I'm just going to highlight Control A, select all to highlight everything, delete everything, and then Control V to paste the learning activity that I copied, save changes. Come back to the grader report, we see that our gradebook is now clean. And so at least in this case, I'm not able to submit grade, it's not signed. These grades were from a previous class, they've already been submitted, but there will be a button that shows up. Typically, I believe it's down here. If not, it might be up here. But if it was down here, it looks like a link. It says send grades. You just click it, you hold tight for a couple seconds, and then it'll show the submissions and it'll send you a notice or an error if something doesn't work. And in that case, you can reach out to your program directors for help or support on that. Those are just some common gradebook errors that we see that are very simple to correct. Anything else that you might see above or outside of this, feel free to reach out to your program directors for help.